the chat while you're doing all that.
Okay, we should be live. Hello, everybody. Let's see if I can find the chat too, because that bit always confuses me as to where the chat is. And so I can see the video and we can link people.
Is this a race?
Yeah.
Like, am I racing you to find the chat now? Because the heat is on.
It's the final countdown. Yep. That.
Welcome to a Joey and Cris chat.
Yeah. This is how it goes. Yeah, I found it. Aha. Right.
Oh, you beat me. I was too busy flourishing the hands.
Too much Leo, not enough Capricorn.
I know, man. That's all right. The Cancer in me didn't care.
That's it. That's the way. Balance it out.
Yep.
Okay, we're just setting up for anybody watching. I will tell everybody what we're doing. I promise. I'm just linking everything so people can come to the chat. I will link it on my page. I will link it on the Starry Eyed page.
I found the chat. Hello, Willow.
So that's that one. Da 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 da. We started something.
It's gonna be stuck in my head for the rest of the day now.
You're welcome.
That's gonna be a thing.
You are welcome. Right, so we are live, and everybody's watching me like, what are you two doing? Why aren't you talking about what you're supposed to be talking about? I'm sharing stuff. We'll be with you. I promise.
Okay, well, while she's sharing things, can everyone just appreciate her lipstick shade today? Because I love this color. Just saying.
I found a red. I found a red. Right, so that's in the live channel. And we will share it in YouTube Pagans. Shout out for YouTube Pagans. Yeah. Woo-hoo. And then hopefully everybody who wants to come in the chat will be able to see the chat from that video.
Hello, everyone in the chat.
Can people see us? Other people in chat?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, hello, hello. Absolutely love this topic. Whoop, whoop. Molly's there. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
And let's see here. Jennifer and Cora and Feathered Therian and Lady Ambrosia. And let's see here. Shay. There's a bunch of people.
Hello, everybody. Yeah. Okay, I think I've shared it everywhere that what needs to be shared, I think.
See, and Willow's loving the lipstick as well.
Thank you. So if people need to know, the lipstick is ColourPop Avenue. So there you go. It does not look like this on my lips, but I like it. But so there we go.
Yeah, it looks completely different than in the tube.
Anyway, right, welcome to the live chat today, guys. I really wanted to talk about this subject. I'm probably going to be blogging about it as well because it's a huge subject. And there's probably, I mean, we definitely, it's a plan. It's a plan, guys. And the subject is the cult of not belonging, and that is feeling other in our spiritual path walking, whatever that might be. And it's a feeling of not belonging, a feeling that is maybe not being accepted, feeling other, feeling weird, feeling like we don't fit in, all those sorts of energies that sort of come in and are perhaps put on us in spiritual path walking. And we have Miss Cris Ashburn, the death midwife, with me today because I was like, I want to do a Google chat. Will you come chat with me?
Yeah. Well, you know, there's been like a lot more live chats going on lately, and we kind of wanted to get in on the action. So
we're capitalizing on our conversation because we'd be talking about this anyway. So we're like, oh, let's talk with everybody else. Let's talk about everybody else. Molly is #goals. I agree. She's my unicorn queen.
Agreed. Molly's pretty awesome.
So Do you want to start?
Yes.
Do you want to start? Shall I start? Do you want to start?
I mean, it's your channel, lady. Go ahead.
Oh, I get to start. Hi, guys. Today we're going to be talking about not belonging. Right. So this.
Get out. No.
Banhammer. Right. No. Sneakily watching at work. That's the way, Molly. That's the way. So the kind of the theme of this came about as kind of working with ancestors and kind of throughout the process of ancestral work. And if you guys haven't heard me and Cris talking about ancestors, this is something that has encompassed the whole year so far for me, is like underworld work and ancestor work. And one of the messages that came through was, you are not alone. And initially I was like, okay, that's just a small little message amongst all the other messages. And then it was like, no, attention must be paid.
Mortals be.
Yeah, like, yeah. I can imagine my ancestors being like, foolish little mortal. I can imagine that, actually. So I really wanted to like pay some attention to this topic, because I think a lot of us feel this way, are made to feel this way, go through this at some point. And it's basically like the cult of not belonging, feeling like we don't belong, like we don't fit, like we're other. And this can take all kinds of forms, I think. I mean, it can be like, oh, you don't fit within the pantheon that you are drawn to, and you don't feel that you connect to other people within that path walking, and then that leaves you feeling adrift a bit. You don't feel like you can start conversations with people because you feel so different from how other people view spirituality. Or
like you're not enough.
Yeah.
That's a big one. In whatever it is.
So yeah, there's definitely a huge part of feeling that we are not enough. And I think we see all these memes and things like telling us we are enough, but we don't internalize it. We don't really feel like we're enough. And this is kind of like made worse by the fact that there are a whole lot of people coming from a whole lot of places to tell us that we are not enough, and tell us that our concepts, our conceptualizations, our way of looking at the world, our theories are, let's list some things that I've heard in my time: fluffy, wrong, stupid, egocentric, egotistical. I'm trying to think, like, oh, like, you're wrong is a big one, like a big one for me. Yeah. Like I get a lot like, no, you're wrong. I'm like, okay. And that kind of leads
like
to
a general sense of like, who do you think you are?
I want to sing again now. Who do you think you are? Do you think? Anyway, stop. I've been like this all afternoon.
Okay.
And back.
Yes.
And I think so there's
a lot of dance breaks.
These elements. Yeah, there will. Just there will. All of these elements sort of come in, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, that's just being new. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it's anything to do with how long you've been doing this. And I see a lot of people sort of throw out how long they've been doing it as like a self-defense mechanism. Like, oh, well, I've been doing this 20 years. I know what I'm talking about by now. And Cris is American, yes. I'm not.
Yes, I am quite American. I'm originally from Virginia, but I am now in Ohio, for those wondering.
I'm mostly Welsh. Okay, so
the irony, I'm mostly British, apparently.
Yeah. Cris has done her DNA test. She's mostly British, yes. Which means nothing because we've been invaded from every which way.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I think that this is something that kind of gets thrown out from like a beginner perspective. And I don't think, what time is it? It is 3:30 in the afternoon. This gets thrown out as something that only beginner's experience. And I think then that you get like this shame tag if you're experiencing it at any point beyond being a newbie, for all that means, because I don't believe in newbies versus old bees. I don't believe in it. I'm like, we're always discovering, we're always finding something new, we're always new at something. So I don't believe in the whole
well, and I think that there's something to be said for just kind of trusting your intuition a lot too, like being able to tap into that heart space. Thank you, Mystic. But I feel like that gets downplayed because we live in a society that is built around fact and what you can see. And so even if you're starting out and you have a really good handle on your intuition and the feel of things and the energy, like that's still going to be like smacked down essentially, because that's how we roll apparently as a society. Let alone people that have been going for like 20 some years and still feel that way sometimes.
So I'm going to throw it over to the question over to Cris, and then I'm going to answer it too, which is, how does that look like or feel like for you personally that you're comfortable with sharing? Because obviously this is a personal topic about feeling other and like not belonging. So how has that looked or felt for you?
Okay, so with me, I like the dance after. I'm like, yes, and this is the dance to answer the question. So for me, I was raised with a pagan mother and a Southern Baptist father. Everybody in the chat, I know. After I say that, everybody goes, what? So I was raised around a lot of this kind of stuff, but I wasn't like in an official like a Wiccan coven or something like that where you would have degrees that you go through. It was just kind of a natural family flow thing. And so that was one thing that was an issue for me onto like the online pagan community, because like locally I had those that kind of understood and got that like women's drumming circle and like our rituals and all that stuff. But online, it was like, how do you express that? So I was coming from a like, I don't have bullet points to give them because it's just kind of been my life. And so I automatically started out, hi, Magpie.
Yes.
I automatically started out with a sort of, I don't have answers to your questions. At least I don't have answers that are succinct. Like, you know, well, what do you do? What do you mean, what do? I do all kinds of things. I don't know how to answer that. You know, what are you? I'm me. I'm... And, you know, I go where I get pulled. So that's one thing. And then, like, the fact that my mother is pagan, so I have the hereditary thing. So then people are going to like test you automatically if you say you're hereditary. Like how many lines back and what's your family names and what are their secrets? And it's like, dude, that's none of your business. Like, it's my family. Also, I didn't say I was the grand poobah of anything, you know? So that's another one. Tarot is another one where like I read very intuitively based, and then I might go to like what the standard definitions of the cards are. And that's just because like I'm really big with hearing. And so like when I put a card down, sometimes I'll hear a saying instantly. And like I just go with that, or like the thing that catches my eye first, or Stitchomancy, like we did the other day, which for anyone that doesn't know is like when you like scribe basically a book and a word sticks out at you.
Okay, so Stitchomancy, I'll give a quick show and tell. So I have Women Who Run with the Wolves here.
And now here's Joey with Stitchomancy.
So if I was to ask a particular question, or I had something on my mind, and then I flick the page open, oh my God, I can't make this up. Finding one's pack, belonging is blessed. I can't make it up. That looks so staged, and it isn't. I'm so impressed with this book as for Stitchomancy. Okay, so that's Stitchomancy.
Yeah. So basically, like, I'll do stuff like that too, and I don't know. Because I didn't have the titles of things, I always felt like I wasn't enough, I guess, in those conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was also imposed upon me too. Like, if you don't have a finite answer, if you don't have a label, if you don't have this one thing or this bullet list of things that you are ready and prepared, then you're not a real witch.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're not a real pagan, or you're an armchair pagan, or you're like fluffy or whatever else you want to put in there. And it's bullshit that it's a fear, but it's a thing that people have in this community. And it's funny because people will fear it in one breath and then say it in another a lot of times.
Wearing the shadow, that's such a thing. We've been talking about wearing the shadow recently as well. I've touched on that in the blog post. So for me, I struggle with interacting with other human beings for a whole host of reasons. And I got onto YouTube in the very first place because I wanted to reach out and learn from and interact with pagans, witches, and evolve my path. And I'm going to touch on that point, actually, Elena, that nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent before I carry on, because I don't think that's a healthy way to look at it, personally, because that kind of shifts the focus from the people who are doing it to you, and it makes it like it's your fault for reacting and having feelings. And I don't think that's fair. I think that everybody's feelings are valid, and to have a reaction is the start of a process of a spiritual journey in order to better understand who you are and why you feel that way. It's something that does get said a lot, like nobody can make you feel that way without your permission. And I'm like, well, what about when it's, say, in my case, it was my mother making me feel like shit my entire life, and that's all I knew growing up, and she knew exactly how to do it. So is that my fault as a kid? Like,
right.
There's anyway.
Well, and I also think even with that, like, that's a very like black and white kind of thing. It takes all of the responsibility off of one end, and I don't think that's the case ever. I think it's, we're in the flux here, and I think it's both. You're responsible for how you react to things and how you continue to react.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
But people also are still dicks sometimes, guys.
And emotional responses are valid, even if it's not a good emotional response on your part. It tells you something you need to know and something you need to learn, and is maybe a jumping off point. So what I was going to say is that I never felt that I belonged, and I was desperately seeking belonging and tribe for a long time and never finding it. And I come across as one way, and I know I come across as one way. So I come across as very English, very proper, very well spoken, very well read. And some people really don't like it. Some people really do not like the intellectual presentation of information. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I'm human Marmite. I've come to accept it. It's fine. And it's part of who I've always been, is kind of like going at it from because I'm a Virgo. I've got a whole lot of Virgo and then a whole lot of fire. So I go at it from a mind space, but there's a whole lot of like heart behind the mind space. But I think I come across as kind of standoffish and cold and know it all. And some people like take those things and then they're like amplify them about me, and I'm like, no, I'm not horrible. Please don't hate me. I want to belong. And the other thing about feeling other is that I have a very different thought process to how a lot of people think about things, particularly spirituality. And this is something that we have already touched on within this chat which is I have a very fluxy way of thinking, which is something that me and Cris have talked about, and it basically means that
and bonded over, really.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's not the usual I guess way of approaching things sometimes of what I found.
So the way that I see things, and this can be anything, but we'll talk about it from a spiritual perspective, is I'm like, I can see the yes but, and I can see the no but, and I can see all the like intricate things in the middle but, and I really can't go with this whole rigid way of thinking, which is either something as a yes or something as a no, and I can't do that at all. And it's like that. It gives me twitches, like it's like dark goddess. It gives me twitches, and because I found that I think in a completely different way to a lot of pagans that I have come across, and this is not a value judgment at all, which is something I can think. This is what I mean. I come across as thinking, you know, and I don't. I just thought I was weird and bizarre and different to how everybody else thought about things. And then you question yourself, like, am I doing this wrong because I don't think like most other people think? Or
yeah, exactly.
And I'm my own worst critic, which is what some people do not see. Like, I will drive myself crazy thinking sometimes, if I think there's a grain in what someone has said to me about whether or not that's true and that makes me a bad person and that sort of thing. However, I will say I have now reached the point where if I don't see any truth in the not very pleasant things that people are saying, which has happened a few times recently, I'm like, I don't believe that. So you're not, it doesn't bother me. You're not offending me whatsoever because I just don't believe that. So I exercise your brain. That's
Jilzy, I believe it would be both. Feeling like you don't belong as a person in general or as a pagan / witch. Like both.
Yeah.
Is what we're pretty much discussing.
I mean, I've had racism, believe it or not. I know I'm a white girl. I know, but I have had racism. I've had the whole because you're English thing on. I had someone verbatim say, "Look at this stupid little white bitch, stupid little white English bitch thinking she can take Irish gods." Verbatim. That's what I've had that said to me. So. Yeah, I think the thing is that people do come after you as a person because it's more personal. Even within the spiritual community. So they'll come after you for your hair, your look, your nails, your voice. My voice is fake, by the way.
people like to come after me because I'm fat. And I'm like, dude, do you not think I put my clothes on? Like, do you think that you're giving me this epiphany right now? Like, I know what size I am, asshole. And that doesn't hold me back. Fuck it. But no, people like to go for the surface first, I notice a lot of times. And also many times when someone is insulting you, like they go for the thing that really relates to themselves.
Wearing shadow, yeah.
So like if someone is threatened by one's intelligence, oh well, you're a dumb bitch, you know.
Or
or you just think you're so good, or like a know-it-all.
I've had that a lot, you know. Oh, you think you're above us all, and I'm like, okay, I'm 5'3". I'm not above hardly anybody, but sure. You know. My sister, that's about it. She's 5'1". So
you're like, I am a queen.
All 5'3" of me.
Yes, all those 2 extra inches.
There's a joke in there about 2 extra inches, but yeah. So I think with feeling other, what my point is with this is that we do it to ourselves. And other people do it to us, and the resulting in the middle can be kind of nasty to untangle. Well, Jen, small women, we reached perfection earlier and we stopped growing. That's what it is.
Big things come in small packages.
We're all shiny diamonds. And
yes.
So the thing that gets in the middle of all of this nonsense is it is a shadow issue, and it becomes our shadow, and it becomes like a cultural, spiritual shadow in some cases. This is something that I've been talking about, that it becomes like a toxic side of spirituality, which is really, really unfortunate. And it kind of reinforces this separateness between people that is so unhelpful. Like if we consider people to be other than us, then we're not responsible for our behaviors in some way. It like excuses all the bad behaviors in some way. I love how you're all telling me how tall you are. That's amazing.
Yeah. We're like deep things like bullying and such, and you're like, I'm 5'2", I'm 5'3", I'm 5'6". It's okay, Joey. I am 5'5", since we're sharing.
So the point about being bullied about somebody who has dyslexia and being bullied for having dyslexia, that's somebody wearing their shadow. That is somebody who knows that there is this thing about themselves that for whatever reason they don't accept, or they're not comfortable with, or they're not happy about, or whatever. Maybe they've been bullied about it in their home life or whatever. And then they take that and they bully someone else for it, because that's wearing shadow rather than dealing with what's happened.
So Jilzy asked, she's like, do either of you have thoughts on raising children in the other to be comfortable with themselves? I actually was raised in the other. Like, my mother is the black sheep. And like pretty much at my house, if you wanted to like terrify my mother, you had to go to Yale and wear a sweater over your shoulders. Like, and be named like Biff or something like that, you know. So like then she would have been like probably horrified. But like I was raised in that mindset, and honestly I feel like I am a stronger woman for it. I feel like I'm able to kind of step back and see more of the nuances about how things play out, you know, see the forest instead of the tree. And I think that's helped me a lot. I think it also made me able to be there for a lot of other people around me too.
I didn't grow up in a very good environment, so my parenting advice is all the things you don't do, because I know all the things you don't do, so I'm left with something.
Well, hey, that starts somewhere, and that's good lessons.
Because I don't have any kids. I don't have any kids myself.
Neither do I.
I did bring up my sisters pretty much. I can't even have a cat. And yeah, my granny was 4'10" actually, and she was a powerhouse of a woman. So
my grandmother, one of my favorite stories was that she would walk by a group of construction men and she would lift up her skirt and she would say, "There's plenty of fire in this furnace, honey." And my mother was the black sheep, so just sit on that for a second.
That's amazing. I might do that when I'm old. Just
yeah. Life goals.
Elderly goals. #.
Yes.
So the thing about growing up is, on the surface of it, to look at me, I don't look other. And on the surface of it growing up, I didn't look very particularly other. And this is actually something that does work against me on occasion, because people look at my face and are like, what does this woman think she knows about the Morrigan because of how she looks? Because there's a certain anticipation of you looking a lot more gothic with working with Morrigan. Like, and because I don't look gothic, like full on gothic, or because I don't look older, perhaps I look younger than I am. So there's a sort of value judgment that goes on there. But internally, I've always felt quite other, because I've always been intelligent, which was both encouraged and then a thing with my mother, because she basically pitted us all against each other, and if you weren't getting top grades, you weren't enough. But on the other hand, because you were so intelligent, it was a thing, because you thought you were better than her. So there was a kind of this, and this has kind of like followed me now until to this point where we're talking about feeling other in the pagan community, where I still get that. There was people like, oh, well, I value this, but you think you're better than me. I still run into this, and it's like, I'm just who I am, and I can't be any other way. And I think the best thing we can do is support one another in our weirdness. I had a whole month on the Starry-Eyed Facebook page where I was like, rock your weird. Just rock every little weird thing about you, because out there somewhere is someone else who probably feels the same way, who probably has the same glitter goth. I'm glitter goth as well. Like, that's how I identify as well, because I love, I don't know if you can see, this is a top which is it's basically like, there we go, with the skull flower, skull in the flower.
The skulls.
That's kind of me in a nutshell. Joe in a nutshell.
I am I don't even know. I guess if I had endless money, I would be more of a corporate goth, but in reality, I'm a lazy goth. Because so I like to be comfy. I wear a lot of gray skin.
See, I love a lot of the gothic clothing, but I like pretty makeup. So
yeah,
and I mean I don't mean that gothic makeup can't be pretty full on. I mean whimsy pretty, like, you know. I mean, I'm a little bit more gothic today with the lip, but I also like to wear like a light lip and a sparkly eyeshadow or whatever.
You like to look like unicorns pooped on your face in your magical professional makeup.
There you go. Magical professional unicorn poop. You heard it here first. And I have problems with that as well, with feeling other, because I'm like, I can go from kawaii, which is Japanese cute, which is all this stuff like Pokemon and
like that side.
I can go from that. I don't think there's anything particularly gothy over that side, but I can.
Fox is kind of gothy.
Yeah, the fox calendar, kind of. But I can go from this kind of cute to like full on like gothic, like, oh my god, look at this like decomposing artistic rendition of something, how deep and meaningful and I'm feeling. I can go like that, like, oh my god, this is really cute, and then death. And I always felt a bit weird and a bit out of place, because there are people who will basically accuse you of being fake because of that, because you're like, you're both. It's like, you can't be both. And it's like, well, yes, I can. And I am. And that's just how I feel about it. I like cute Pokemon and My Neighbor Totoro and kawaii and stuff like that. Oh, actually, there's a gothic bat makeup bag right there. So it's kind of all in one.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So there is an element of learning to embrace who you are and be okay about who you are first, before you connect with other people who are like-minded, which is a process, I think.
Yeah.
Is a real journey, is a real process. And is there anything you want to say about being other before I talk about that process?
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliments on the room and the background in there, because I've seen that a few times now. And I guess like that pretty much sums up like my style, is like there's skulls and black and white things, and then there's also like earth stuff, because I'm a Capricorn and I like earthy things. So yeah. But you know, like I've experienced something similar as you, Joy, where like you feel like you like it's too much and not enough at the same time. Like you can't hit that sweet spot, because like you, I've been told that I am like cold or standoffish. Which anybody who like knows me personally is like, what? But you know, all right. And then at this, you know, and then like, you know, that I think I'm better or something like that. And then I've also been told like that I give too much of myself. And like I'm a pushover or something like that. And I think that's also something where it's like that other archetype of like being the giver, to where you give so much that like you don't you don't have any lines at all, ever. And I don't know, to the extent that you almost like feel like you're getting erased. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to describe? And I think that's a part of it too, you know? Basically, like, we are being told we're either not enough or too much for everybody else, but all we need to do is like what we are for ourselves, like worry about that. Especially like with YouTube, it's magnified because you literally have like an audience essentially, so you see it mirrored back at you immediately. You know, or like even like between the YouTube channels and stuff, like you can see the differences in what people get in terms of the things that they are called outside of other, and like that can magnify it really easily. And I don't know, I think it's a blessing and a curse at times. Like, it's good if you're able to step back, but you know, you're having a bad day, you get on and something like that happens and you're just like, nope, I'm done with the world. Going back to bed. Screw this.
It always happens to me that I always get it first thing in the morning before I've even had my coffee as well. So I'm like, oh, I didn't need that first thing in the morning. Like my iPad will go off like, this message, and I'll be like half awake. So I'm like, what? And then it's like, you are an awful person. You're an awful person. I'm like, I haven't even had my coffee. Go away.
It's flashing.
Yeah.
Neon sign.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize I left that there. Yeah, and something else, that's another one too. Michael said, if you're a little introverted, then other people can perceive that as standoffish. So here's the thing. What's really funny is that this isn't funny. This part isn't funny. I get panic attacks, right? That's not the funny part. Although I guess if you're on the outside looking at it, it might be funny. But I get panic attacks. And at my one of my old jobs, I would tell them like, hey, I can't do this one thing because it's going to make me spiral.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to be an asshole or avoid something. I'm just saying like, this is going to make me spiral. And I don't think you want me to handle that for you. And like, surely there's got to be better people. And they didn't believe me because I am so like gregarious and like expressive. And they thought because I was able to be extroverted that I didn't get panic attacks. And that's another thing that's like a stereotype, that you have to be a certain way if you have anxiety or depression or something like, no, people show it in very different ways. And it's a thing that is separate from essentially who they are in a lot of ways. So that's another one that came up and that reminded me like, yeah, no, I've had that too.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those topics because I will talk about mental health and depression. I suffer with depression and anxiety. It's a fun cocktail. And I've managed it by myself. So I'm not even going to pretend it's severe, but some days it wins and it's not great. And I have talked about that publicly. I have some videos which are pretty raw, dealing with depression, and videos that I'm crying in. And I've had people come at me for that, like in a not very positive fashion. But then I've had people email me like, this saved my life. And I'm like, that right there is why we do what we do. Because if just one person emails you like, this saved my life, then it doesn't matter about the people coming at you for being expressive. And I had a photograph on my Facebook, it's still there. And I'd been upset about something. And after I'd had my cry or whatever, I went to the mirror and I had mascara down here. And it looked like butterfly wings or moth wings. And I snapped a picture of it. And I hesitated for about 10 minutes. Like, I don't know if I should put this like out there, because it's a show of who I am emotionally. And people sometimes are really hostile towards that. They see you expressing emotion and not the happy joy emotion, and then they get on your case for being weak or whatever. And in the end, I was like, no, sod it, I'm going to post it for exactly because I had that thought process, because I hesitated and felt like, oh, I'm going to be judged for being this in response to posting that picture. So because I felt that way and I had that thought, I posted that picture. And sure enough, there are people who are like, oh, you're dramatic. Oh, you're looking for attention, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, this has been posted literally because I had that thought process, and we need to be okay with being emotional, even publicly.
Yeah. Well, and Willow said, it's all these boxes and labels. They make us feel like we have to fit in them or under them. It's so limiting. Mm-hmm. And yes, exactly. Like, and that's the truth. Like, we try to fit into labels. I mean, earlier I was talking about how, like, I came to the community online and everybody was wanting, like, bullet points of, like, titles and things that I've done or do. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have them. And it's because those were boxes. They wanted to fit me into boxes so that they knew, you know, what to check off on the list that I am. And the truth is that I am everything and nothing. Mm. And we all are.
I love that fluxy answer.
Flux. But it's true, like, and we shift constantly. Our interest shifts. We as a person, like, our priorities shift throughout life. It, you know, gather as many boxes as you want, but it'll never be all of them.
I think the boxes is a control thing. When it's applied to other people particularly, it's like, if I can figure you out and put you in a box, then I can control your impact, or I can control what you're saying, or I've got you figured out then, and then you're no longer a threat in some way. And if the whole putting people in boxes thing kind of feels like trying to categorize, and that comes into spirituality too, because people are like, what kind of witch are you? What kind of witchcraft do you do? Are you dark or light? Are you a white witch
or a bad witch?
And that again goes against the kind of fluxy thinking that I have always felt, and I know that Cris feels that, and that shared experience has actually led to like a connection between me and Cris and a few other women, and it's been very much like illuminating for us to be like, there are other people who think like me. Thank the maker. Yeah. So I am going to address that. When Molly said about appreciating the rawness, I think
I was going to too, so I'm glad.
So we're going back, but yeah. I was like, I think that's something we need more of, because
absolutely,
for all the people saying like, oh, you're being dramatic for views, oh, you know, and it's like, well, ultimately, I know where I was in that space when I recorded that video. I know how emotional I was, and I don't think you can lie about that kind of emotion on a YouTube video. If I was a kind of like in acting and all the rest of it, then maybe, but this is just me sharing parts of who I am on a video camera. Like, we're people. Just because you're watching on a screen doesn't make us actors. And
yeah,
that rawness is something that taps into something primal. And it makes people realize that spirituality is a mess. It's a messy business. It's not as structured and as box-like or as cut and dry as people present it to be. And spirituality is meant to be messy.
I think that's what people are kind of grabbing for when they go towards, and I could be wrong, but I feel like as you're saying that, I thought of like, you know, teeth and bone and dirt and mess. And I feel like that's what people are kind of trying to grab for when they go towards like maybe like dark goddess kind of stuff, or like even like shamanism in a lot of ways, the neo-shamanistic kind of practices, because there's a wanting to get back to that messiness,
that live wire of
because
spirituality.
There's power in
it. Yeah.
And actually, like, I was going to say, because of Molly talking about the rawness, like, so I went through, like, the death of my dad and depression and all of that. And in that, Earth sign Capricorn, who is usually very, like, keep it in, contain it, we got this. Like, you know, calm surface duck floating on the surface of the water, paddling like hell underneath, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go through that, and with mourning, with grief, you wear your emotions on your sleeve constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that Raven Magpie animism. No, so that's something that I had to learn to be comfortable in, to just let it be as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I started calling it fierce vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Like to be fiercely vulnerable, not vulnerable in a quote unquote weak way, but like fiercely vulnerable, to sit there and like pull that aching heart from your chest and go, you know what, this is my wound, and set it in the middle of the floor and point at it for everyone and go, it is bloody, it is messy, but I am working on it. It is what it is, and it's beautiful as it is. And like that's fucking powerful.
There's a lot of power in that truth as well, because what I mentioned earlier, which is that I didn't like the idea of, you know, that you are fully responsible for how you feel and things. What I will say is when you learn to embrace that primal truth about yourself, about your otherness, then you become in power of it. You become empowered by it, and you become in charge of it. So someone can come to me and be like, I don't know, you know, you are this. And I'm like, well, I don't believe it, because I'm good in my truth of where I'm at. Right. So because I'm solid in my foundation, solid in my truth of something, that doesn't affect me anymore. And that is a process. That has been a long, pain in the ass, shadow work intensive journey to get to that point. That is not an easy thing to get to. I'm just going to stress that. That's not like one day a light bulb went off and I'm fine. And it's not all encompassing either, because sometimes people
layers.
Yeah. Sometimes people still get to me. Sometimes people still upset me. And I've had people tell me like, oh, well, you need to care less. And I'm like, no, the world needs people who care more. We need
to care more.
Yeah. we need people who care more, and who are like, you are weird, you are freaky, you are crazy, you are unique, and I fucking love you for it. That's what we need.
Yeah. No shit.
You didn't force
people love me. Did you hear that? People are loving me for it.
Okay. It's okay, Elena. It's not that I feel like. See, now I feel like I'm picking on you, and that's not what I meant to say. It's just that
I didn't even mean to try and force it on you.
It's just that I have seen that approach of thinking being used in a very counterproductive light a lot, because I'm effectively a survivor. I'm effectively a victim of sexual abuse. So I have seen blaming people for their reactions not have a very good effect on people, because it's sort of kind of like this psychology of survivors, that survivors blame themselves enough and they excuse their experiences enough. Apparently, like a really frequent thing for survivors to say is, it wasn't as bad as what happened to some people. And it doesn't matter what they've been through. Like, people who've been through the most horrendous experiences that you can possibly imagine say this too. And I know that I've said it, like, it could have been so much worse, because I know other people have been through so much worse, and it kind of sidesteps and kind of devalues our own emotional responses to things. So it's not me saying that you are wrong in that line of thinking. It's just that I have seen similar methods be put to people in a way which kind of devalues their
used
experience.
For like victim shaming.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it doesn't feel like that, then I understand. But it's more of a like, be wary of that, I guess.
Somebody brought up masks. Can I go now? Can I go? 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 Can I go?
Oh, bring up masks. Go ahead.
This is my fox. This is my fox face.
Yes.
We all have a mask, and we choose to put it on or take it off. I kind of agree. I kind of don't. Welcome to the flux. So something I've talked about with masks, and this is an ongoing journey for me, and there will be more blog posts about this, I promise. I'm building up to one slowly. Is that I feel that in witchcraft, we try on lots of different masks. So we look through the eyes of different spiritual practitioners, people from different walks of life. If we are intrigued about the adventure of witchcraft, if we're seeking and we're searching and we want to understand, which I think is most of us, that's why most of us get involved in spirituality.
I just had Iron Maiden's like Quest for Fire in my head, like when you were like, if we're seeking, and I'm like, join my quest for fire.
So we wear lots of different masks in order to get a glimpse through the eyes of other people, but also to get a reflection into who we are. So how we react, how we think, how we feel about the scenario. So as we are looking out through the mask of what we are seeing around us, we also get a glimpse onto who we are on the inside. So yes, we're still here. We might be here for a while because this is a topic.
It's a topic.
It's a big topic.
And it leads into so many other things. I was telling Joey, that's part of why I have trouble thinking of content sometimes for like YouTube as a whole, because one thing can run into another thing, and before you know it, you're like, I have 50 videos to do.
Oh, that's me in a nutshell. Like, I've got this list.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about being other is it actually ties into power as well. There is this whole power thing that goes on within paganism, within spirituality, within human interactions, to be frank, which is this kind of power play thing going on. And some people use the idea of you being other to try and get power over you. So they will try and put you down because you frighten them, or you challenge their belief system, or you think other than
I know
they
of
do.
this.
And so it will be like, you're a freak, you're this, you know, you're negative terminology 101. And it's like, it's a power play. It's trying to make you feel small.
Or they hold you to their standards and set them for you, like looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you
be more like me?
Right. Why can't you be more like me? You know?
We don't celebrate difference. That's the thing. Like, we don't celebrate enough difference in spirituality, and I think in general, because for me, sometimes when I watch other people's channels or other people's ways of doing things, and Molly is a prime example because she's in here and I love her.
I love Molly. She's so boldly her. I love it.
Exactly. And I'm like, I would never do things like that in a million years, but I love watching Molly do it. Like, it's fascinating to me to see a completely different,
Also, you know, she like leans in to tell you, so you're like, some good shit is about to happen. Because she's like, so.
And we're like, yes.
Yes. Go on.
And there are other people as well. Like, I've been watching a couple of Nordic pagans who do their, okay, I can't pronounce, is it Astaratu? Is that correct?
What?
You
mean the religion?
Yeah.
Asatru?
Thank you. Right.
Yep.
And they do their rituals and things, and I'm sat there like,
yes,
this is fascinating. Like, and there are similarities. Stop looking at me with that face, Chris. Stop it. She's like,
I'm just sitting here doing stuff. Minding my damn business.
You liar. She's pulling faces at me. Anyway, so, and I watched them.
I'm always pulling faces.
But I find it fascinating because there are similarities and differences with the Nordic stuff. I find it really thrilling. Some people's videos, I just find them thrilling, and I appreciate it when somebody is a little bit offbeat compared to how people usually present themselves on YouTube, because I think a lot of people present themselves in a certain way with a certain manner and a certain aesthetic, even down to there's a key winning formula that I could quote, but I won't because it might upset some people who have followed that formula, that will get positive views. And there's a little white orb floating across there, right? So I've got some ancestors or something floating across in front of me. I'm like, what? Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I appreciate it when people go outside of that, like really go out of that. This is me. This is raw. This is me on a table. Here you go.
This is you on a table. What are you doing, lady?
That's my other business. Don't tell people.
Oh, okay.
Da, 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 da,
She's
da,
false. I mean, or
da, 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 that's my oh yeah.
Okay.
I need my corset on for that one.
Yes.
I really need to sit with my shy new girl. I thought she was gone, but no, she's still there. They don't like you. You won't fit in, so stop trying. Sit down the back and keep your head down. So,
yes. You know what? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so we all feel like that, no matter how long you've been on YouTube or whatever. We all feel like that. It's not a new thing. And I have anxiety and depression. So I'm like, oh, should I really talk about this? And am I going to look awful? And if I go on video with a bright red lip, am I going to get nasty comments? Because I don't normally go on with a bright red lip. Like, from things that matter to things that really don't matter.
I highly encourage this lipstick today, guys. Also, I just put what it is in the chat for people that are asking.
I'm wearing this lipstick because I like it. That's why I'm wearing it.
It's gorgeous.
But the thing is about feeling that's an element of, you've been told that at some point, maybe, you know, shut up, sit down, and you've internalized that, and then you're telling it yourself. So it becomes a shadow cycle. It becomes like it's not a blaming thing, but it becomes like a little poisonous seed that can like take root in ourselves, and we don't know how to deal with it. And so how we deal with that feeling other is a highly personalized process, and it's finding a way to push past where you're comfortable, an inch at a time is how I recommend it, because it's like, what can I do today to push past that? And then tomorrow I can push past a little more, and then you get into a rhythm.
Like was it Anna that shared? There was a comic the other day, and it goes around, and it's basically, oh god, things are happening. Sorry, multiple monitors. Blah. It was a comic, and it was like this person who was like so anxious, and they're like, okay, you can do this, and then they run out of this like bubble, and they go and they run to this big red button, and they hit it really quick, and they run back, and then they fall on their face, and they're like, okay, that was it. You did one thing a day. Just, you're good. Okay, just little steps, you know, and that's essentially what it is. Like, especially living with anxiety and stuff is like, just do, and even the button was labeled like, do the thing. Like, you know, just do that one thing a day to just kind of push it a little. And then you'll start to see that like the fear is the biggest part of it. Like the anxiety that comes before actually doing it. It's not actually doing the thing. It's the thinking about the thing before that.
It's the mind games we play with ourselves, telling ourselves that we cannot. And I get it every time I travel anywhere, especially if I'm by myself. I will freak out. And what I usually tend to do with traveling, like physically traveling, not spiritually traveling, is that I will have a list of all the stations between here and there, and I will be like ticking them off as I go. So I'm like keeping a very tight schedule almost, just to make sure I'm in the right place. And ultimately, I know that if I get completely lost, I'll be all right, because inevitably people look at me and they're like, do you need help? Because that happens every time I look even slightly lost. Inevitably, someone will come and ask me if I need help.
Yeah.
And that's either my face, the universe, or somewhere in between. like she needs help, quick, rescue her, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because that doesn't work out for me well sometimes either, because it's like, well, little girl, we have come to rescue you from your faith. No thank you, I'm good. So I think we all go through that. I think everybody goes through that, whether they admit it or not. Like, everybody has that apprehension about doing something that scares them.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what I've had to learn the hard way, because I don't know if there is any other way about learning this, is worrying too much about what other people think is only going to hurt yourself. Because the people who are going to love you, they're going to fucking love you. And you'll find them. You'll find them.
Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind.
Exactly.
Dr. Seuss.
Exactly.
We're getting scholarly in here, guys. Dr. Seuss.
It's so true, though. It's so true. And the thing is the people that are going to bitch about you, who are going to value judge you, who are going to call you names, who are going to try and like hurt you in whatever way, they're going to do that anyway. So you just go on and you keep shining and you shine brighter, and you're like, I'm not going to stop being who I am because of this. Because the people are going to hate on you. They're going to hate on you. And a lot of times, I'm not going to say everybody is completely free of responsibility for other people hating on it, because if you did something to attract it, then you did something to attract it. But a lot of times when we meet people coming at us because they just hate us for whatever reason, that's them wearing a shadow. So they see something about you that either they're jealous of. That's a big one. People do throw it out too freely, like, oh, they're just jealous, and people do throw it out too freely, but it is something that does happen. Or they're wearing a shadow of themselves, that they're not comfortable about themselves, and either you reflect it back at them in some way, so you make them focus on a part of themselves that they're not comfortable with for whatever reason. Maybe because you are comfortable with it, maybe because you're drawing attention to it.
Or sometimes you inadvertently challenge a core belief, which I shared an article about earlier. And the brain automatically, like the amygdala, where we get like our fight or flight kind of stuff from, the brain automatically will take a core belief as the same response as like a physical attack. And so if you inadvertently present a counter opinion to someone's core belief, they instantly are like, ah, no, that can't, whatever, and so that's a thing. That is a thing. And you might not even be meaning to do it. You might just be talking about your own world in a whole new world, something, right? Just on your carpet, just flying through, just being fine, not worrying about anyone else. And suddenly someone is like, you cannot have carpet. So like, it happens.
It's usually the weirdest thing as well, and you're like, what?
Yeah, you're like, carpet? I can't have carpet? I didn't offer you my carpet. I don't.
You've missed me singing about 3 or 4 times already. We started off with me singing. It's continued on all sorts of crazy tangents. Yes. Hello,
Raven.
Hello to people who have just joined. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, on a magic broomstick ride. That's awesome.
Yes. A magic broomstick ride.
We're through the hedge. We're finding underworld points of view. Anyway, that's quite enough of that for right now.
It's so damn fluxy in here. We have no fear.
We'll have a whole song before you know it. That was amazing. I love that. So good. So, okay. How can we deal with feeling like we're an outsider? Maybe that's a good way to go, because we've talked about kind of how it feels and kind of like what it looks like maybe, and then how we've bumped into it, and how do we deal with it?
Well, for me, one of the things that helps is I like to basically cocoon myself, like energetically, and kind of go in my cave and get back to me and check in with myself to what I put validity in, basically, of those things. So like, well, was I being, too loud? I'm gonna set with that and see, do I feel like that? Not was I to them, but like, do I feel like that? So it's kind of like a check-in with yourself, get back to center, ground and center, find your belief in it, sort of thing. But I have to like kind of seclude myself first energetically to do that. Ritual is a good way. That's one of the ways I do it. I will come in and set at my altar and light an incense and sit with my gods and goddesses, and I will just kind of go, all right, let's look at this, let's examine this, let's feel it, let's see what is true and what isn't, and what is linked to some other shit that I haven't dealt with, and maybe that's partly why it's coming up,
Kellyanne Maddox talks about this somewhere, and she was like taking your shit to the altar and like releasing it at the altar, and that's exactly the fear of rejection is ultimately behind a lot of this, and that is true. That is something that we maybe should have talked about actually before we moved on to dealing with it. I'll talk a little bit about how I deal with it.
It's your channel. We can do what we want.
We can. That's the Virgo in me. Like, oh no, we came off the list.
Yeah.
Quick. And for me, because I am quite in my head, which is a Virgo thing, but I think a lot of us witches do it as well, because we tend to analyze a lot of things and we tend to feel. So we tend to have like this dynamic going on. And sometimes we can get into one space more than the other. So for me, I get into my head way too much and analyze everything of every single which way of things. And it's made worse by the fact that I'm very empathic. So I kind of know where somebody is coming from. So like if somebody comes at me, I kind of know where they're coming from. And I'm in my head like, did I do something to deserve this? Now that is a huge fucking shadow with me, and that's all tied up with my my growth, my growing up, everything. Like on some level, did I do something to deserve this? And people don't see this side of me particularly because it's an internal process. And it has taken me a while, but from like now when I know where it's coming from and I'm like, no, I didn't do anything, that's their shadow they're wearing, or, well, I know that I have this problem where that I present something and I know what I mean. And I didn't mean what somebody else is taking it as at all. I didn't even think about it. And then I feel bad that I didn't think about it from that. And like, I do that same thing. Like, oh, well, maybe I should have considered somebody's feelings on that sees this. And
and like you want to, but the truth is also is that you are human and you can't possibly think of everyone all at once. So it's a very slippery sort of road there.
So how I deal with it is usually getting to the crux of that, like, okay, is there something in here that's making me think I deserve this ugliness from someone else, or I deserve this rejection? And ultimately, none of us deserve to be rejected. It's a sad fact of life. We're not going to fit in everywhere. It's a sad fact of life. We're not going to get on with everybody. And it's all right. It's okay. We don't have to get on with everybody. We don't have to like everybody. We do have to be decent about it. Like, I think we do. Some people will not agree with that perspective and don't care who they upset. But for me, I think Pikachu. Sorry, I'm just like moving the chair around and noticing that
they don't care who they upset. Pikachu.
You're upsetting Pikachu right now. How could you? Look at that face. So yeah. Pikachu. So for me, it is up to us to conduct ourselves in a certain way. We have a certain responsibility as human beings, first and foremost. Like, let's get down to what we all are. As human beings, we have a duty to other human beings because we're not fucking as separate as we make ourselves out to be. We're not. We're all human. We all bleed. We all feel. We all, for the most part, obviously, psychopaths don't feel. But for the most part, this is such a Virgo thing. I can think of an exception. Quick.
I was just sitting here like I could think of a few exceptions, but just shut up. Go on.
And
figure of speech.
Yeah. for most situations which most of us deal with, because most of us don't deal with psychopaths, let's face it. Real psychopaths, not what people term as psychopaths, which, by the way, is another side of spirituality that drives me crazy. The labeling people as narcissists thing is driving me to the point of distraction. Like, not everybody who disagrees with you is a narcissist. Like, okay, that's just a side footnote. That we're too quick to demonize people. So it isn't technically
well, and that's actually what I was going to say earlier when you were talking about like how do you deal with it and stuff, is that, well, the first thing is don't make them the villain out the get-go, because it isn't an us versus them thing. It really isn't. Like, we're all just trying to get by, dude. So basically, like, you can sit with it and see like what sticks and what doesn't. And you can also like try and understand from that person's point of view what they're kind of representing there and what they're trying to bring in and where they're coming from. And ultimately, like, that's learning from the masks, like you were talking about, is like seeing through someone else's eyes, essentially, as best you can, especially when you're empathic. So, you know, it's not about making them the villain. And I think that happens so much. It's so easy to just like divide, especially with like the amygdala thing I was talking about. Like, you automatically want like this fight or flight, like us versus them battle. And it doesn't have to be that either.
There's a desire to be self-righteous in these situations as well, because then that justifies action. And I think what do you disagree about? What did, out of interest?
I think she meant like to agree to disagree.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I was confused. I was just like,
that's right. I thought the same thing. And then I was like, what about, I want to know now. And then, yeah.
I'm with it. It's okay.
But that was a perfect example, actually.
Yeah. Like, what did you agree with?
We both were like, what do you disagree with?
See, we both whittle about what other people think. But there is a tendency with the self-righteous thing to be like, oh, well, this person is wrong. So this person is lesser in some way. And if I can then justify my opinion or feeling or whatever it is, then and I can make that person smaller, then I have power over the situation. It doesn't affect me anymore. And that's not actually going to help you resolve the situation whatsoever, because you didn't look at it from like, it may well be that a person is being a dick, and you can accept that people behave badly without making them into the villain. And you can be like, well, they're wearing that shadow and I can identify what that shadow is. And if that shadow that they're wearing is bothering me on some level, then I take a look at my own shadow and see what's reflecting back at me and why it's bothering me. And then I work on me, because the only person I can work on is me, spiritually speaking.
Right.
And
well, and also like that, I'd also like to say too, add to that, is that just because they're not the villain necessarily doesn't mean you also have to invite them to your party, as Molly would say, because Molly's like, you know, just make your own party and then invite people to it. Like, that doesn't mean that you have to also like be best friends with them either.
Can I use
it? Can just be what it is.
So I was talking to Cris about this the other day, and I was like, you can invite people into your living room in terms of like a metaphysical analysis. Okay, so we're not talking about literally, but you might literally, but we're talking on a psycho-spiritual realm, right? You can invite.
I don't have room enough for all of you in my living room. I'm going to be really honest.
I don't either. My living room's small. So you can invite people into your living room. Say the dining room, whichever. You know, there's a dining room table. You can sit them down. You can talk to them. They can have a drink. You can share your meal with them. You can have discourse. Doesn't mean you invite them into your bedroom to see you naked. So there's a difference between who you allow in the front door or not. And you're okay not to let people in through the front door. If you don't feel comfortable, you're under no obligation to give parts of yourself away to the people who would not enrich you, and you're not going to enrich them. So it's okay to have this front door closed, magically speaking, spiritually speaking, psychologically speaking, to that which is harmful to you.
Yeah.
It's okay to have the different secret. You know, some people are in your bedroom, and some people are in your living room, and some people are outside, and that's okay.
The quote that Magpie shared is really good.
Mm.
It says, "See the good in that which is evil, and the evil in that which is good. Pledge yourself to neither side, but vow instead to preserve the balance that exists between the two."
You got to get past the thorn hedge. I love thorn work. I love thorns. So people are all like, "Yeah, barriers, thorns," and I'm like, "But I love them. I love thorns. I love hawthorn and blackthorn and all that. Oh, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it." Yeah. So rejection is a big part of what we're talking about. What we're talking about is feeling rejected, and on a personal level, like the kind of feeling rejected that we kind of do to ourselves. It all comes from a place, and other people have usually had a hand in it at some point. But there's this kind of internal rejection thing that we do to ourselves versus external rejection, which is like quite literal rejection. Like, you can't sit with us. You know that meme? Right. You can't sit with us. Good.
Yeah, like, good. I don't want to. Yeah.
Embody Morticia. Like, good. Like, yeah.
I like Morticia, but personally I'd rather embody Lily. Lily is more my jam. Lily Munster.
Mm-hmm.
But Lily wouldn't want to anyway.
So, in terms of spiritual,
you're like, whoa.
I'm drawing in from the universe. My eye is glowing. It just keeps like, this eye is glowing. It's so odd, right? One eye into the underworld, one eye above. Anyway,
well, it's nice to talk to you, Odin.
But I think that, when we run into rejection, it is possibly the hardest thing as human beings for us to deal with, because we're quite social for the most part. Even those of us who are not social, particularly those of us who are introverted, we still want to bond with people who we can have deep, meaningful conversation with. It's just a lot of us don't want the chatter that comes with everyday social interactions, maybe, or we don't want to go clubbing, and we don't want to go to large parties because we're introverted and it doesn't appeal for whatever reason. I know that there are a lot of us who feel quite introverted in that respect. But rejection is hands down one of the most difficult things for any of us to deal with. I bet every single person here can remember the first time that, like, a person they were interested in romantically rejected them. I bet everyone can remember the first time they put themselves out there and were like rejected. Small talk. And that stays with us and shapes how we approach potential partners and makes us think of what we're worthy of with regards to partnerships. And that's true with friendships. That's true in all spheres of life. And I think spirituality often teaches us about this side of things, because that is a shadow. It's a human shadow more than anything. Like, well, you're going to have to figure out a way of dealing with people who will reject you, because somebody's gonna, for whatever reason, like from a good place or for a bad place. Like from a, well, you're not really my type place to your me place.
Yeah, I know that place.
That's me making myself small.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a really difficult thing. And I think ultimately we have to get to the point where we cheerlead for ourselves. And we don't hinge our approval on what other people think necessarily. I mean, there are people in our lives whom we come to trust and love, and if they like, I need to talk to you about something now, don't freak out. Like, that's not rejection, that's them supporting you in a different way. And I think sometimes we don't really talk about that enough, that sometimes loved ones and family, and whether it be soul family or blood family or whatever, sit us down and have these conversations which are difficult because they love us, and we're so afraid of like rejection or that we're like no, I don't want to hear that or whatever. Sorry, just distracted by chat for a minute there, just checking. So it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one, like finding that way to regulate yourself and be okay with who you are. And that we might never be fully okay with who we are, because we all have days where we're like, I hate me.
But you know what? And here's the thing. I don't know that I would want to be totally okay with who I was for the rest of my life either. Like,
because it doesn't allow for change.
Because then how do you grow? Yeah.
Being okay with the process then, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, the process. And the process, your accent transferred over to me.
It's
the process.
The inner British is coming out.
Yeah, but I think there's something to be said for that. Like it's okay to just be okay. You know what I mean? Like, not miraculous. Because that makes you want more, that makes you strive for more, that makes you experience more, like want to learn more, and further yourself. And that's a good thing. But it shouldn't be so much to where it halts our growth as well. Like, it can stunt us just as easily.
And I really like the thought processes. It might be a meme as well somewhere, which is basically saying, don't compare your behind the scenes to somebody else's on stage.
Yes, exactly. Like the grass is always greener syndrome. Like, yeah, but you don't see what they had to go through every day to mow that shit, and like to like put the grass seed down and all the right mulch and etc. Like, you don't see how often they're out there trying to work on it just to make it look good. And not only that, you don't see if they're making it look good because they want to or because they feel like they need to. That's a whole other thing, like the pressure behind that.
And often, like, the most perfect lawns are fake.
Yeah.
This goes back to the dirt thing we were talking about earlier.
So in conclusion today, don't be AstroTurf. The end. Pretty much. Or get AstroTurf and just don't worry about what your neighbors do.
Yeah, the cult of comparison is actually a side thing of not belonging. Is that we are taught in all walks of life to compare ourselves to an ideal. We're taught that we're supposed to be, well, as women say, we get taught we're supposed to be young forever and that youth is more beautiful than age. We're taught that we're supposed to be a certain weight, a certain size, a certain breast size, a certain intelligence, but not too intelligence. We're not supposed to question this, that, the other. There are a whole load of boxes, basically, which are put out in front of us, and we are then made to compare ourselves to people who we've decided are better, prettier, more intelligent, more well-off, more well-endowed,
who, and the important part of that is who we've decided are. So where does the real power lie?
And I think, there are decent lessons when we get like that, when we feel jealous of something. And it's like, okay, well, why do you feel jealous of it? And is it something that you need to work on and attain? Or is it just something you've kind of been conditioned into thinking that you want/need and you don't really, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Hired someone else to take care of the lawn. Oh, if only spirituality was that easy.
I know, right?
But yeah, I think that comparison is one of the mothers of all fuck ups, really, because you're never going to win.
Yeah. Well, and people aren't like phones. You know how you go on like a wireless like AT&T or something like that, and like you can compare the phones and it shows you like, oh, there's this much storage and there's this much battery life and this much webcam. Like we aren't that parallel in that sense in a lot of ways. We're like, maybe I have a webcam but someone else doesn't. Obviously Joey has a webcam because we wouldn't be having this chat. But exactly. But it's not like, these are all the things that someone can possibly have for stats, and now we compare them to this other person. No, everybody has different ones and to different strengths, and it's not that simple.
So I've probably got about 10 minutes and then I have to disappear. So just notice at the time. So are there any questions or talking points or anything before we finish up?
Caffeinated Witch says, I talk to my insecurities as if I'm talking to a friend. If a friend of mine is down / comparing, I try to remind them of their strengths. Why wouldn't I do that for myself? Yes, exactly. Like the shit that you say to yourself, like, like, oh, you're not pretty enough, or, oh, that looks god awful, or, why would you do this, or that's so fucking stupid, or like, if you wouldn't say that to your best friend, don't fucking say it to yourself, which is easier said than done. I get it. But you can start to break that habit when you catch yourself, even if it's once. Like that's one less time that you have to hear it in your brain.
Individuality is not a trait shared by everyone. I think individuality is. I think the appreciation for individuality is not, because we are all individuals as well as all being interconnected. Welcome to the flux. But I think some people can appreciate individuality, and some people they feel lost and they feel like they don't belong because of their individuality, which is kind of something we've talked about, like connecting. Eventually you will connect with people who are like you, and for me that was a process of painfully losing people who I thought I had a bond with and didn't, and then realizing the people that I came to have bonds with was something completely different, completely unique, empowering, safe, fun, and all the good things, and honest as well.
And that just reminds me, like this whole time I've been thinking about the root thing that you said to me the one day about the concrete, which was basically like, she said, stop trying to bash your roots in the concrete when there's fertile soil right around you already. Like, and that means like, stop trying to make yourself fit in, like beating yourself into fitting in somewhere that you feel like you don't, but you think you should, or, something like that, or need to do something else. And, bask in the fertile soil that you have around you, those who support you, those who understand you, those who want to help you be a better you. And, that had a lot of power for me too, like the way that was put, because we can damage ourselves because we turn inward and go, well, what's wrong with me? Why don't I fit in this concrete? Well, because it's concrete and your roots, and you need some dirt, lady.
You need some fertile ground. Yeah. So what I said I was like, stop planting yourself in concrete. Stop planting yourself where you don't.
But she said it alone like that. She was like, stop planting yourself in concrete. And I was like, what? I'm going to need you to elaborate.
And then the Virgo goes in me and goes, I will.
Yes.
Okay. Did everyone find what they were looking for today? Is there anything that
anybody have any questions?
Anybody felt they needed addressing that we have not addressed?
Also, some people asked earlier, my channel, you can find me at Cris Ashburn. Cris is CRIS. Ashburn. So
she's also,
I know I said
Facebook.
It in chat, but I am on the Book of Faces. I am on the grams of Insta. Yes.
So I recorded a video earlier and I pretty much verbatim said those two things on.
Yay.
Yeah. And I honestly do believe that if we plant ourselves and give ourselves the best opportunity, the best potential to grow and just be who we are, then we will surpass our expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am also on the chat of snaps. Yes.
I'm not. My phone's 100 years old. Okay. Well, thank you to guys for joining us today. Live chat was lively today. That's awesome. It's always nice to see. I don't know if it's age or experience, maybe. Well,
I think age tends to go hand in hand with experience, but it depends on your life, you know. So, perhaps.
Okay.
I mean, no one can deny that crone, I couldn't give a fuck less kind of attitude, which I appreciate. So maybe, I don't know. But yes. Please link my channel in the down bar. If I comment, I think you guys can do things. Hi. There we go.
There you go. You can follow hi at YouTube.
So I know you can if you right click. Well, if I write my name, does it like hyperlink it? Oh, hey, is that what it did? Did it do a thing? I don't know. It made it orange. I don't know what that does.
I don't know what she's doing, but good luck. Be safe.
I don't know either. But if you hover over my name and click the three dots to the right of it, it'll send you to my channel. I just commented in chat for those that are wondering.
Yeah.
Glitter painting possum skull. That is awesome.
That is awesome.
We need a live chat of that.
Yeah. I will try and remember to link it in the information as well. And then
I wonder.
Amidst all my information, which is lines and lines of all the millions of places that you can find me. But I just searched and found your channel easily. Okay, good. Okay, they can find you. We're all right. Okay, we all good. I think we're all
okay.
Good. Okay.
Good.
We're all good. So thank you to Cris for chatting some nonsense with me today.
I love nonsense. It's the best kind of sense.
That's where we operate, between the non and the sense. So thank you, everybody. That's going to be the end of this live chat. We have gabbed on quite long enough.
Yes. All right. Thanks for having me, Joey. And
bye.
Bye, everybody.